We are marching for our A&E. 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 We are marching.
Right, I want to thank you all for coming here today. Thank you so much for showing your solidarity with our campaign. And I particularly want to thank you for one very special reason, and that is our local council did not want you to come here today, and that's why they decided to make a deal behind closed doors with NHS North West London without any consultation with the people who will be most affected by this radical shake-up of the NHS and our local services, unprecedented in the history of the services. This is a disgrace.
And there's been, I say, so many myths put around, I'm afraid, by the NHS, by the council and by our own hospital trust over the last week or so, that I just want people to be clear exactly what we're fighting for. There's a 15-page document here. It came with a box about that high of papers, but this is a 15-page document that seals the death of Charing Cross Hospital if they get their way, after 100 years of service to this community.
Anyone who's dared to say they have major concerns about these radical reforms, this unprecedented shake-up of our health service, has been gagged, has been told, you will lose your job, you will be pushed aside if you speak up. We want to thank her for coming here today. It's Dr. Jenny Vaught.
One of my friends rang me up and they said, Jenny, have you heard the news? And I said, what news is that? And they said, Charing Cross Hospital is saved. And I said, well, I've not heard that, and I'm usually the first to know in many of these cases. I said, and then I looked at what really had been done. I felt your council's been sold a turkey, basically. Basically, if you call a hospital with no A&E, no intensive care unit, and also, if you call a hospital, if you're sick, you will not be able to be admitted as an inpatient into Charing Hospital. That is not what a lot of the residents here recognise as their hospital.
If you look at their papers, their new framework here, you can get it online. It's saying shaping a healthier future. It says alternative proposals to create a specialist health and social care hospital at Charing Cross. Now, I've never heard of such a hospital. Have you heard of one like that? Who invented that term, specialist health and social care hospital? It sounds an awful lot to me like a downgrade, like they're window dressing what is in fact now a local hospital.
The actual proposal they're going to pass is not one word different from what they proposed last June. No extra services will be on that site other than the walk-in clinic I talked about. And that proposal to reduce Charing Cross down to the size of the sports centre on one corner of it, that at the moment is still going ahead.
This is such a huge struggle. Across London, we know at least 10 hospitals are under threat, and across the country, 50 or 60. So this is a fight. This is a fight for the very life and survival of the NHS. And I understand that in this area, North West London, you don't have the uniform support of your GPs or of your clinical commissioning groups. And I feel really, really ashamed to think that doctors are standing by and actually watching these attacks on the NHS and not speaking up. And all of you are patients, or potential patients. I think you should be all going to your GPs and saying to them, what do you think you are doing?
I've had people in my family who've needed intensive care treatment that wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for intensive care units. So these are vital services. It's not a drop in and out service that you want. You need these acute, you need these specialist units in these hospitals. That's what a hospital is. And without that, it's just a shell. It's just a glossy shell with a front door and a nice reception. So I think we need to fight for that.
In other words, too many people are waiting more than 4 hours already at our hospitals, including, I'm afraid, Charing Cross and Hammersmith. How are they going to cope when 4 out of 9 of those are closed? There's going to be people waiting on trolleys, there's going to be people waiting in ambulances. We will be back to where we were under the Thatcher and Major governments, with people dying while they're waiting for treatment in hospitals. And that includes the hospitals that are staying open.
Any of you have a personal thing you'd like to say about your experience with our local hospitals?
3 years ago, I had a brain hemorrhage. In 10 minutes, my door, and in 15 minutes I was in Charing Cross Hospital. The consultants in A&E, they said in this condition, 50% people lose their life. I was one of the lucky ones because I was lucky to have such a good hospital so near me.
The nurses are going to be deeply affected too, because so many of them will be losing their jobs as part of this shake-up. So we welcome our nurses to the stage. Thank you, Anne and Cam and the others.
It's not true that there is a casualty at Charing Cross under the new proposals. They're going to sell off 60% of the floor space. They're going to close casualty. They're going to make it into an urgent care centre. They're going to lose over 400 beds and most of the acute services.
Yes, I've worked in accident and emergency and in urgent care centres and walk-in centres for several years now. I'm sure you all know, if you've ever had to attend these services under a huge amount of pressure. My experience particularly of working in urgent care centres is that a lot of people do actually attend with problems that should be seen at an accident and emergency department. This then leaves you in a very difficult position because we have no
But it is our responsibility to speak up for those vulnerable people who will really miss the service if it goes. What I'd like to say, finally, is we made a Valentine's card. It's a little bit late. We're not allowed to have a march, but what we're planning to do, and we'd be very happy if you join us now, is walk with us down to the town hall, 5 minutes down the road. Let's give a message to Hammersmith and Fulham Council that we care about the NHS, we love it, and we're going to fight for it even if they've given up.
Thank you. The people united will never be defeated. 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 The people united will never be defeated.
T-shirts, and the woman looked at me and said, "What's this all about?" And I said, "Oh, they're threatening to close our A&E." And she said, "My God, they really helped me when I had complications with my baby." And I said, "Well, get involved. Go to meetings, go on the internet, inform yourself, and make a stand." She said, "There's only me and my baby. What can a single mom do? What can a single mom?" She said, "There's only me and my little baby. Who would listen to me? Who would listen to me?" And I told her, it's the power of one that becomes the power of all. Yeah? It makes up an army to rise against this wall. This is the power of one. It becomes the power of all. If we're not united, the power of all.